Hi, Elis. Hi, Mike. How does the offer of free beer sound to you guys?
Inconceivable. It will never happen.
Sounds like a dream. It's a dream world, isn't it?
No, it is not. Listen to this. Our friends at beer52.com are giving you the opportunity to sip 8 free exclusive craft beers from around the world.
I'm still not entirely sure that I believe you, but still, that's all well and good, right? So how? Tell me how.
I mean, that's 2 more than 6. What are the details, Steff?
Solid maths. All you need to do is go to www.beer52.com/distant and cover £5.95 for the postage. The case will be delivered straight to your doorstep and you don't even need to leave the house.
Yeah. I mean, technically, we're not allowed to leave the house anyway, are we?
Beer 52 are beer pioneers, gentlemen. They are going around the world to find the best and most interesting beer from the greatest small batch breweries on planet Earth. No surprise then that they are the world's most popular craft beer discovery club. Each month, Beer 52 deliver a case with a different theme. Themes have included Germany, Korea, Norway, South Africa, California, Finland, and many more, but they have not forgotten their roots. As an independent UK company, Beer 52 are also passionate about the UK craft beer scene. The beauty of Beer 52 is that they will not and do not hold you to ransom. There's no lock-in. You can leave at any time.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good, but I mean, you know me, Steff. I'm all about the snacks.
As well as your individual beers, Mike, you will receive a cheeky snack. You like magazines, Elis?
Well, I'm a confident reader, Steff.
Okay, do you like the award-winning craft beer magazine Ferment?
Oh, I mean, it sounds right up my alley.
There you go. Do you like dark beers? No, that's okay. You can opt for the light beer plan. It's easy.
You just go to www.beer52.com/distant to get your first case of 8 beers for free.
I'll just recap that, Alan, Steff. That is beer52.com/distant. Beer52.com. That's the word beer, right? Then the numbers 5 and 2 makes 52.com.
To the Socially Distant Sports Bar for episode 11, your one-stop shop for Lionel Blair and John Noakes related sports content. Mike, how's your week been? All good?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Steff. Very good.
Excellent. Al, you all right?
Not too bad. I inspired, in fact, by Mike's superb documentary choice.
Yes.
For this week. I went for my first run in months today.
Okay.
I haven't really been running since before my son was born, and he's 70 months old.
I thought you said he's 17.
So I've done a bit of cycling, but I haven't really been running. And I've always been very impressed with the mile as a distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was at my fittest, I could run a mile in about 7 minutes.
Okay.
That's poor.
I mean, Roger Bannister's not shitting himself at this stage, is he?
That's poor. I used to run it in 6 when I was like fucking 16 stone. What are you doing?
Well, well done. But I never did any
Frank
formal
Bruno ran it in like 5.5 when he was like 17 stone.
Yeah, but he was a trained athlete, wasn't he? I'm more of
a trained mile runner, though, was he?
People don't like me for my athletics. They like me for what I do for morale. People hang out with me as a morale boost. Anyway, so I was able to do it in about 7 minutes.
Okay.
First run for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I ran a mile in 9 minutes 17.
Oh.
Absolutely dreadful. Dreadful.
You're running slower than my 10-year-old son runs when he does a 5K. And, I cut up his toast for him.
So maybe that's what I need.
Well, I can run a cut your toast, I told you before.
So I pressed stop on the stopwatch, berated myself for about 90
Do you need a stopwatch at that sort of pace? Just look roughly, we left about 5 and I was 5 past.
Berated myself for about 2 or 3 minutes.
How many? How
quick burst of diarrhea, then put the kettle on.
How far do you do out of interest?
I ran a mile. I wanted to see how far.
Oh, you just run 1 mile?
Yeah, I ran 1 mile.
I thought you were going to say you did like a 6 miler and you averaged
No. When I was relatively fit,
you did 1 9-minute mile today.
It was a time trial,
minutes. Yeah? Yeah, it's a time trial.
Oh man!
So I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it again tomorrow. I'm letting my muscles recover.
Yeah.
The old deer downstairs.
I'm going to let my muscles recover tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I should say so.
I'm not going to go for another run.
Was it wind assisted or was it?
No, it was raining. Mike. It was raining. It's not ideal. So then I'll do it again on Tuesday.
Well, I'll
try and knock 5 seconds off. Try and go for 9:12.
Well, I'm in terrible shape at the moment. So what I do, because I'm not a completer finisher and I'm a real bad procrastinator,
Right.
is what I've spent the last 2 months of lockdown doing is buying stuff to start training. I just bought some earbuds, Bluetooth earbuds.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for them to come in before I started running. Then I bought new trainers.
Yes.
And then I sent them back because they weren't quite fitting me right. I keep buying stuff. I bought a chin-up bar. I bought a bench. I bought dumbbells.
How many chin-ups can you do?
Now
my
chin-ups are as impressive as your mile time. I can do 1 chin-up.
What's your record?
Well, when I was fit, over grip I could do about 15. But under grip, I could probably do about 25. But now I can do 1 under grip, and over grip, I just look like I've been harpooned. I look just like a fat mess hanging off some bars, isn't it?
Under grip,
yeah.
I've always wanted to do 20, and I've got to 14 about 6 times.
That's decent.
I've never managed to do more than that.
That's all right though.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Because you got quite big legs and arse, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a very odd shape. I'm like a cut and shut sort of.
Your back end's like an Austin Allegro, isn't it?
Yeah. So my front's
The top
a Ford Orion.
the top half's like a Robin Reliant, and the bottom half's like an Austin Allegro.
Yeah, I look an absolute horror show naked, real mess.
I'll take your word for it. I've seen you in underpants. You got sort of. I know you've mentioned this on the thing with John, but you've got quite Welsh thighs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
decent thighs on you, decent arse.
And then it all goes wrong up top.
And after that, I haven't seen your peck or anything. I haven't seen.
But did you say pecker?
Yes, he did.
Do you know why? Because there's a certain bloke, and I played a lot of rugby in my time. Right, you'll see a certain wiry chap.
Yeah.
Right, and especially it happens in Wales a lot, and I can basically tell by looking at them if they got a big dick. And there's, like, I can tell. I look at someone like Rob Jones.
What, the ex-Swansea and Wales and British Lions?
And Rob
Scrum?
Howley,
Right.
especially.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet Rob Howley's packing big time.
Yeah.
But I bet
Yeah.
Rob Jones got a big one as well. Can you tell? When you look at people, you can just tell they've got a big old fella.
Yeah.
And they say you can't judge a book by the cover, but of course you can. That's why we all do it.
I'd say...
At Distant Pod, if you want to get in touch with.
How big you think
Yeah.
different Scrum half sticks
Yeah,
are, please get in touch with the show.
Nick Farr-Jones, Dwayne Peel.
Yeah, let's get them all
David
on.
Kirk.
If they could send us dick pics, that would be fantastic. That would really get the numbers up big time, wouldn't it?
Do what we could do then? We could put them all...
All meet in the same pub after lockdown and get your dicks on a table. And it'll go viral.
You could do like an ID parade.
That's Richard Hill.
So you
I'd
could
love
have Richard
I haven't seen Richard Hill. Yeah, Richard.
Rupert Moon, Jonathan Griffiths, Chris Bridges.
Chris Bridges, little moustache.
And just for the sake of transparency, I'm saying mine's average. I've got big testicles, but my penis actually. My wife says I got tangerine balls. I said it's her fault. They're never emptied, right? But shaft-wise, average.
I think we all know each other better now.
This is the equivalent of having a shower after a game, isn't it? When you get a bit of teamwork going.
Yeah.
You know, when you join a new team, you might wear your speedos in the shower after a game of rugby when you first meet the boys.
Yeah.
And then once you've broken bread a few times, got involved in a few dust-ups, had a few after-match drinking sessions.
Oh.
You look daft wearing your speedos then, so you all just get in there with you.
So then you just sit there looking for a charger. The other boys are masturbating.
You know.
You're getting on.
I mean, it's a slippery slope. My dad played rugby his whole life, right? I played rugby my whole life, and then he sort of coached my teams and whatever.
Yeah.
So while I was playing for my club, my dad would often referee. He'd referee games because it's his club as well. And so he would think nothing of, and I thought nothing of at the time, having a shower with the boys. So I'd be there with my mates, sort of 17-year-old lads.
Yes.
And my old man would walk in and have a shower with us and talk about our weekends and stuff. And really...
Some of those showers would take 2 or 3 hours.
I mean, this was a cubicle. This wasn't a team shower. No, this was...
Let me in, Mike. Let me in.
Let me out.
In conclusion, the conversation Bubs and I have had in the past is that Welsh dads have big dicks.
Yeah. Honestly, no, my dad looks like a flipping toilet roll tube. Fair play to it.
Oh my God!
I wonder when I'm going to catch up. Because I'm older now than he was then.
Yeah.
So I thought it would
me
probably
too.
thicken up as I got older.
Yeah.
But it hasn't.
If anything, it's getting smaller.
I don't think that's how it works.
It's getting narrower. It's getting narrower. Oh.
It's getting narrower and shorter as I get older, which is a nightmare, really.
My mate Simon used to say, it may not be very long, but it sure is skinny. Oh,
oh my gosh!
Right.
Yeah. If you want an easy edit, Steff, basically,
where are we going in?
I would love your advice on how to run a 6-minute 30 mile because that's always been my ambition.
There we go.
Nothing but sport so far. Fantastic. Right, Mike. What's your first clip for today?
Well, do you know what? This is what I love about doing this podcast. Well, lots of things I love about doing it, but one is that
You spent 15 minutes talking about wangers.
I mean, that's the main one. Is when we disappeared down these little side streets we go down. So we ended up chatting about this chap a few podcasts ago. People just got on board with it, and it's taken on a life of its own amongst our Twitter followers. This is Mr. Kimbo Slice. And Kimbo, God rest his soul, 4 years ago yesterday that he passed away, much too young. So this is a great clip. This is David Blaine, the well-known illusionist and American showman, voluntarily getting punched in the stomach by Mr. Kimbo Slice. David Blaine's got a lot of knockers, right? He gets criticised for various things and being a bit of a dick sometimes, and I think that's part of Bummers on Seats, isn't it? But absolute kudos to him for going into an octagon, picking his shirt up, and letting Kimbo Slice punch him in the abdomen twice. How he didn't fold, I don't know. And he tells a story before Kimbo does that of when Harry Houdini, that was his party piece, let people punch him in the stomach. And some kid ran up to him once when he wasn't expecting it, punched him in the stomach, which eventually killed him. I mean, I think he died from the injuries. And I watched it in slow motion, thinking he's blagged this. How has he blagged this?
Yeah.
Now I don't know if he has blagged it. It doesn't look like he has. I know that's
I don't
the
think
point
he's
of
blagged
magic.
it.
But it seems to hit him full on in the. Does it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out how he did it.
I don't know what the equivalent would be in this country. If you'd have like, it would be Tyson Fury punching Paul Daniels in the stomach.
Dynamo.
Dynamo getting launched by Anthony Joshua.
Punching Dynamo.
Anthony Joshua hitting Dynamo on the solar plexus.
On the stage of Britain's Got Talent.
This is the content we need.
God!
Oh my God.
Stop! Stop the cameras! You've had Anton Deck asking if it hurt. Of course it fucking hurts! You see the size of it?
Quite winded actually, boys. Boys, man, I'm winded, man.
Anthony Joshua's apologising. Sorry. I thought you'd done some training.
There's a really rough pub in Bury. They used to get the window smashed all the time. So they put plastic windows in. So then they set fire to the windows, right? So just melted them instead.
Yeah.
Right.
But I seem to remember, this might be wrong, that in the place of the yard of ale glass on the brackets behind the bar was a baseball bat to help them keep the peace on a Friday and Saturday night.
I always think because baseball is so unpopular in Britain, if you're buying a baseball bat, it is for nefarious purposes.
Oh yeah.
Who are you taking that baseball? Oh, I love baseball.
Love
me.
it.
Who are you playing with? My local team.
Do you want a ball and a catcher's mitt as well? No, I'm all right as it goes.
No. I'm fine. Have you got a nail though? I'd love to put a nail in this.
What team are you playing for? The Cardiff Baseballers.
Yeah, good old Swansea baseball team.
The Swansea lads. They should tell you if you're going to use it for personal protection purposes, to buy a ball as well. So you always got a ball and a bat in the car, yeah, because you can get away with it then. You can say you're going down
Just
the beach
going to training.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If it's just the bat, you're struggling. If you've got a ball in there, you're okay.
This mitt looks suspiciously new and unused.
You've got the tag on it.
The bat's got holes and blood.
Using this ball for the first time, eh? Yeah. I always train with a scuffless ball.
Oh man! But there was a local there in the Master Mariner who, if you paid a fiver, you put a fiver on the bar and try to punch him off the bar stool. But if he stayed on the stool, he just kept the fiver. And he'd make decent money, top of his gyro every week doing that sort of thing.
God.
Makes like 30, 40 quid a night on a good night.
Punching a bloke off a bar stool.
Yeah.
But it's not something that careers officers advise, is it? Mum was a careers officer for 25 years. Have you considered being punched off a bar stool for money?
How's your balance and your ganglion nerves?
How's your pain threshold? Pretty high, actually. Are you good at gripping onto a bar? Yeah. Well, I've got just the job for you.
Mr. Slice! What's Blaine thinking of? I don't know how is that. But the best thing about that was, so David Blaine goes into the octagon, gets levelled by Kimbo Slice. Right?
Yes.
Kimbo Slice says as well. Kimbo Slice says, "Welcome to my office."
Yes,
when he gets into the octagon. Terrifying.
He sort of jokes around about, do you want to do it again? And Kimbo says, "Oh, he's calling me out. He's calling me out." So he does it again.
Yeah.
And then he shows him a card trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's the most. Talk about a setup.
If you're the camera crew, do you make him do the card trick first, just in case?
Just in case.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good producer's point there, Steff.
Because for me,
See, always thinking.
he's like, right, pick it. Eddie, get off.
Cards, any cards.
Let's do the card trick first.
Hey, didn't you? Okay, four a diamond. And I'll write my initials in the four a fucking diamonds. Fuck's sake.
How was work, David?
Bad, actually, bad today. Another bad day at the office. I've been shitting blood, I have. I'm not enjoying it, man.
I'm not enjoying it.
He gave us press on towels, man, for my arsehole. Dear, oh dear, why would you? Christ. I read about Kimbo as well. I was reading yesterday about him. So, I think he had a tryout for the Miami Dolphins and didn't make the team, which beggars belief. I mean, I don't know who got the linebacking job above him, but anyway.
Who's the coach? Who told him?
I'd like to be the person who told him he hadn't made the cut. Good news, you are in the team. Right? Yes.
You dropped.
Starting from tomorrow.
Like the Alan Partridge when he sacks his entire Partridge Productions.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He's got to do it from the next room, you know. Yeah. Good news, Kimbo. You've made the cut. So yeah, but then after that, so he did that. Then he was a bouncer. Do you know this? For the Reality Kings, there's a porn. I think there still might be. I've never seen porn, but I mean, it's like a thing called Reality Kings, apparently.
Okay.
And he was like a bouncer for the blokes who own Reality Kings. He was like a porn star, a porn producer's bouncer as well. So he went the American football route. That didn't pan out. Became
Next natural step.
Yeah, he's gone from there to like a porn producer's bouncer. From there to the backyard scrapper.
Yeah.
At no stage has he got one of those jobs that if you need a reference for a mortgage, you can ask Kimbo Slice.
Can we see 6 months of tax returns? No.
No, you absolutely can't.
Who wrote your reference, Kimbo Slice? I want to see it. Well, many things, actually. He
K Slice.
people up in his back garden. He's a bouncer for porn stars. And he's a failed American football star.
2001 to 2002, Reality Kings. Hired Muscle. A lot of that was cash in hand. Oh, man.
His record keeping must have been an absolute state, mustn't it? None of that is P-A-Y-E.
No way.
Having watched a couple of Kimbo Slice videos on YouTube today, I was trying to imagine a scenario where Kimbo Slice wouldn't be up for a fight. And I just can't think. Well, you know, it's like, Kimbo, do you know Craig who works in Tesco in Forest Far? I know him to say hello to, but not. But no, I don't know him, but I know him to say hello. I talk to him in the street, but I don't know him. If you know.
I know his face, like I know his face.
I know his face, but I don't know him. No, I know him just to say hello to. He's seen your videos. He'd love to have a fight with him in your back garden. On the Sunday, can you do it on Sunday? Do you know what it is? I'm taking my grandmother to the Phoenix and Goslaw for Sunday dinner on Sunday, see, and it's all organised and we booked the table. And I'd love to, but I can't. And they know that they're going to give her a child's portion because she doesn't like wasting food. She hates wasting food, my grandmother. So you tell Craig from Tesco, it'll have to be another time. Apologise. I'm sorry.
He's mad keen for it, mind, Kim. And they wouldn't call him Kimbo in Wales.
Kim.
We never use 2 syllables. He'd just be Kim.
Yeah, Kim.
All right, Kim.
Funny thing is, see, my name's not actually Kimbo Slice. It's Simon Slice. But for some reason, the boys have been calling me Kimbo for a very long time, and it's just stuck. You know, see.
Take care now, Kim.
Simon Slice. I was Christian. So teachers at school were calling me, and Mum and Dad called me Simon. But my fighting name on YouTube is Kimbo. S Slice, it says on my debit card. And a lot of people do think it's my mother's card or my sister's card or something. It's my card, or I've only got one card.
You're not the same Kimbo. You're not the same Kimbo Slice, you Kim, that did the cock film stuff, looking after the boys, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, well, the NFL hadn't worked out, so I was looking for work.
Oh, you're playing the All-American football, are you?
I'd done a bit of time as a hot career, but cash in hand, like obbles, little things like £80 a week, nothing much. So I was still living with Mum and Dad in Brennan at the time.
Nothing to trouble a taxman with, like, innit? You know.
Kim, man. Hey, don't hit him again. Kim, you're spoiling it now. You're spoiling it.
What training are you doing then, Kimbo? Nice shape on your mind. How many press-ups can you do, Kim? Kim. Oh, Kim, how many press-ups can you do? No Gavin on the pub. You can do 63 press-ups straight through, like, with a... No, that was with fucking Timmy sat on his back, mind. You know Timmy.
I don't know him, but I know his face, like.
Yeah, nice boy, mind he? One leg short than the other. Oh. Where do you want these bags of cement, Kimbo? Out the back, yeah? Jesus Christ, Kimbo, has he been a cockfight out here? It's covered in blood, man.
Simon, don't call me Simon in front of the boys, ma'am. Please, man, for God's sake, call me Simon in front of the boys. Call me Kimbo, that's what everyone in the village calls me.
Language, Simon.
Being told off for swearing by his grandmother.
That's not the Simon Slice I know. We didn't drag you up, did we, Simon? We brought you up. We didn't bring you up to talk like that with a gutter in your mouth, Simon.
It's not easy, Mum.
Oh, my gran. We're putting this on YouTube, it's embarrassing. I've knocked him out, but there's no proper end to the video now, is it? Because you're calling me Simon over the top of it. I bet he did love his grandmother as well, that's the thing.
They all do, don't they?
They all do.
They've always got broken,
Those hard
everyone's got
nutters.
broken homes, haven't they? Broken
In my
homes.
experience, hard nutters love their grandmothers. When people think of David Blaine, they think of him sitting in the block of ice.
Yeah.
And they think of that.
Or that big glass cube from the...
Why aren't they thinking of him being voluntarily punched in the stomach
Because that's not
by
really...
Kimbo, by Simon Slice?
That's not as impressive, is it? Isn't it? It's not...
Which,
Being punched in the stomach by Kimbo
If you paid
Slice?
£45 to go and see him in the O2,
yeah.
and it was just him getting punched by Kimbo Slice in the stomach,
I'd be
then
all
be
right.
all right with it.
I think
Better
if
than
I
him
had the
sitting in a
context...
And
If
then
I had
doing
the,
a card trick afterwards.
if I had a winded card trick...
Oh, he bursts a spleen, then plays pontoon afterwards.
Well, we'll fancy a game of gin rummy.
Stick or twist, boys. Speak up, and I got him. Perfect in the eardrum.
I think in the context of having seen a few Kimbo Slice videos, if I'd gone to the O2 to see his big gigs, and he'd, I don't know, sat in a block of ice or whatever for the first half, and then second half had been punched in the stomach by Kimbo Slice, I'd have been the one impressed by what he was doing in the second half.
Yeah, that's true.
Magicians, when they start off doing magic tricks in their bedrooms at the age of 13,
Yeah.
I bet none of them ever think, if this goes really well for me and I practice and I get my head down and I work hard, one day, in about 10 years' time, I'll be being punched in the stomach by the internet's hardest man.
I could have colorectal problems.
Forever. I can have
Oh, God.
unfixable digestive issues the rest of my life. Because of one stupid video I did on YouTube.
It's not even my best one.
Yeah,
That's not good.
because of my
Inject
least
insulin.
popular video on YouTube.
I got to inject insulin every day. The rest of my life. Good news is, Dave, you've survived. Bad news is, you haven't got a spleen. Pick a card. Pick a card. Pick the fucking card.
Right, rotary lines at half mast. Then for Kimbo, Elis, what is your clip for round one?
This is quite an unremarkable game. It's a third round FA Cup fixture from 1988. It's Blackpool at home to Manchester City.
Saved by Siddle. Surely it must go in. The ball pinging around, and it's finally in. Don't ask me who the score is, but City have done it again.
Now, 1988 was 32 years ago. Goals like that don't exist anymore. I haven't seen a goal like that since school. You don't even see goals like that in the lower leagues, in League One or League Two anymore. It just doesn't happen.
That's amazing.
So I watch a bit of Newport County because of a football podcast I do.
Yeah.
Feast of Football. County don't score goals like that.
No.
No one scores goals like that. You don't even see goals like that in secondary school anymore. That's a real primary school top yard sort of goal. And they're all professional footballers. So Blackpool were in Division 3 and Man City were in Division 2 at the time.
Okay.
But still, it is hilarious. However, what I really, really love about this clip is the modern term for this is scenes or limbs. But the away end go absolutely crazy. So it's 1988. So it's a big terrace. And at the time, most football grounds, even in the First Division, had terracing. Obviously, that's all gone now because of the Taylor Report. But there is an aesthetic to goal celebrations on a big open terrace like that, and it just looks fantastic. And obviously, we're terracing in rugby as well, but rugby fans didn't jump over each other in the same
There wasn't
way.
a surge towards the goal, was there?
That huge surge.
Yeah.
And I actually think that is the reason I like football so much, or that is the reason I got into football as a kid, because 88, 89, they're my first memories of football. Really.
Okay.
So when I would watch the big match on ITV, hosted by Elton Wellesby, or Match of the Day for the FA Cup, when you'd see fans just going ballistic like that, as a little kid, because there was no football at all in our house, because my dad's not interested in it, he's rugby 100%. I just watch that and think, I don't know what it is that they're excited about, but I want to be involved in it.
So who'd you go with then? If your own man wasn't a fan, so would you go with boys from Carmarthen and go down there?
The first football match I went to was with the school, which was Wales, Belgium, when Ian Rush became record goal scorer for Wales with a header, and then Ryan Giggs scored on his full debut. We beat them 2-0 in qualifying for the 94 World Cup. So my geography teacher, great bloke, Gio Jones, who died quite recently, very sadly, but he used to organise school trips to football matches, and he'd been doing it since 1980, and he did it. The first game they went to was Wales 4, England 1. Mike England's first game as manager at the racecourse in May 1980. So he took
to the racecourse?
To Wrexham?
To the racecourse. Coached loads of kids up to the racecourse from Carmarthen. Now, that game is famous because we beat the English 4-1. That very rarely happened. The Welsh football team's record against England is dreadful.
Yeah.
So it's on a T-shirt, Gwell Lloegr, all that kind of stuff. What is not mentioned is it was terrible aggro at that game. Really bad hooliganism. So I just think of my old geography teacher. He's trying to keep hold of
1980.
200 kids. Leave it! Because they were on the cop, the sort of the cop end of the racecourse. And there's fighting going all around him. You stand there! You bloody sit down! Darren!
Come back, Darren!
Yeah. Did it all minute!
Put the Stanley knife
You
down.
come here! Can you imagine? I talked to him about it once. He said it was a nightmare because the older boys were all interested. You know, they were all sort of off to see what was going on. The younger kids are all crying. So he's trying to console the 11-year-olds, stop the 18-year-olds from getting involved. And he took a bus from our school to Welsh Internationals for every single game. So that was my introduction to football.
Well, that goal itself, mate, it reminds me, I mean, of my very limited experience of playing football as a youngster, right?
Yeah.
Those goal line scrambles
Yes.
would happen all the time.
Yeah.
There'd normally be like some enormous puddle just around the edge of the 6-yard box, right, where the goalie stood, and the ball would just be floating.
Yeah.
And there'd be 20 kids trying to kick a ball.
Sweet.
It looks like that, doesn't it?
With a PE teacher shouting, "Stop bunching! Stop!
I can throw a blanket over you! I can throw a blanket over you! Shut up, you dickhead. I started going to rugby games, internationals, when I was like 10.
Yeah.
9 and 10, I suppose. And I can remember that you were packed in so tight coming out of the game as well.
Yes.
Especially if you're a kid. Your feet might not touch the floor till you get to Westgate Street.
Yeah.
You're just being carried out, basically jammed in wherever the crowd's going, you're going.
Yeah, your dad just grabbing your collar and making sure you're with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your trousers on, Dad.
It's not the time, Dad. It's not the time.
Not now, Dad.
You can't go shower with them. That's the full Wales team.
What are you doing in here?
Mike's dad.
I just watch a game. I just been watching the game. I thought I'd jump in for a shower.
Oh.
What's the problem? Got any talc? Anyone got any talc?
What I'd like to do with goals like this, though, is show it to the current Man City squad. I would love to sit them down and just make Kevin De Bruyne watch this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Benjamin Mendy would say?
It
It doesn't even look like football. That's the thing. It looks like a different sport.
In the old days, that would have been not an unheard of thing. It might have. The European players might have balked at it because they hadn't seen that in like the Ajax academy. But it's all very much the same now, isn't it? So they're all academies and highly skilled. And 3 and 4G pitches and Cruyff turns and drag backs. You can't fault just a muddy pitch and 20 blokes trying to leather a ball.
What's funny as well is
it's like fucking foosball for real.
the extent of the celebration. You would think that they'd won the World Cup or the Champions League. The way those fans are going insane. And it's I think it's a third round replay.
It's an equaliser
in the 1988 in the FA Cup.
But it's that crescendo, mate. That's where it's like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But as a layman, why didn't the goalkeeper pick it up? Is there a reason for that? Had he hurt his hand or something?
I think he hadn't realised they were playing rush goalies or something.
Back in hand.
Rush keeper was you were allowed to dribble out of your area and then become an outfield player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're allowed to, if you wanted to, if you were in goal, you could then do a Maradona and dribble past everyone else who was playing, score, and then run back and be in goal.
Right.
Whereas Spider goalie,
Yeah.
this was Haverford Western, I think.
That's like a really shit superhero.
Bitten by a radioactive goalie, was it, or something?
Bitten by a radioactive Joe Hart. Then it was, you know,
Like
yeah,
Gordon Banks,
you were
like
sort of
a
an
robotic guy.
emergency goalkeeper, I suppose. But as I've discovered on Twitter, this is a very regional thing, and it's different.
Well, yeah, we
in different
call it. I
parts
think
of
it's
the
one of
UK.
those. In Barry, that was called a back in hand.
Yeah.
We call it playing back in hand.
Yeah.
Which meant whoever could run back and handle the ball.
I don't know.
We will now get
Just rush keeper.
so many tweets on this because it's very regional, and it's a generational thing as well. So I would imagine it's changed.
It's one of those things, like, when I first said back in Angola, so I was teaching in the West Country.
Yeah.
They looked at me like I was speaking a different language, which I was.
Yeah.
I said, we'll play back in Angolese, lads.
You what?
What?
Yeah.
Back in... How to explain it, you know?
Well, it's what you call keep ups or kick ups or keepy uppies.
Keepy uppies.
Or juggling. Keepy uppies
Yeah.
is what I would say, yeah.
Kicky uppies, my kids call it,
Do they?
which I'm not a big fan of.
Kicky
Yeah,
uppies.
kicky uppies. That's all.
Keep ups, we called it.
Well, I've
Yeah.
discovered, because my daughter watches a lot of American YouTube stuff, she would refer to
Kimbo
icing as
slice, that
frost.
sort of thing.
Yeah, she loves all that shit, doesn't she?
She would refer to icing as frosting, and she'll refer to hundreds and thousands as sprinkles. But it's because
She's currently climbing the shard with two Russian friends. Okay. And a selfie stick. What the hell are you doing?
Saw it on YouTube, Dad. Thought I'd have a go.
Getting dangle off Westminster Bridge. What are you doing? Been watching YouTube, Dad, haven't I?
Right. My choice for round number one is from the Giro d'Italia a couple of years ago. This is Chris Froome riding on stage 19. He's in fourth place going into this stage. There's a couple of stages left of the tour, and he's 3 minutes down. If he plays it safe, he'll probably wind up on the podium. But the night before, he meets with the team, and he goes, right, we're going for it.
This is brilliant. Here's the flat section right now, right at the very last. Still not quite there. 50 metres, 25. Oh, Chris Froome! Knockout performance!
So he basically thinks there's an 80-kilometre bit of the stage where I can go. And he sat around with an entire professional cycling team the night before, and they all say, well, can't we just, if you just stay with Tom Dumoulin, I reckon we can get you into second place, and then next couple of stages we'll play out. No, I'm going to go for this. Absolute shit or bust. So then the team sit down and they work out how he's going to do it, how they can get his bike as low in weight as possible. So they have to rule out things like water bottles because they weigh 500 grams. So they're like, right, give him as little as we can.
Fine margins. Was it that Dave Brailsford thing? Marginal gains.
Well, this is exactly what it comes down to.
500 grams.
So 500 grams for a water bottle. They work out that the energy that he needs to consume, the energy that his body can consume is 90 grams of carbs per hour. But there are very few points during this stage where he can actually eat physically because he's either climbing or he's absolutely nailing it downhill. So they have to put a member of staff, so they get the press officer, the mechanics, a couple of security guys, to line the course every 10 minutes with water bottles and sort of gels that he can nail really quickly and then chuck the bottle away and carry on going.
I don't think a sport does that more than cycling, right? I don't profess to understand the ins and outs of how the placing system works, right?
Yeah.
But I watched a documentary, I can't remember what it's called, I'll find out though, a year or two ago. And I always thought it was bullshit when you've seen about footballers, they're trying to trim like 5 grams off a pair of boots, or someone hiking has chopped their laces off to save, But when I saw this bloke breaking down a fella on the Tour de France, and they were looking at the stages, and it was literally the watts, how much energy can that human body make? And how many calories do we need to make that energy?
Yeah.
And it came down to the calorie and the gram.
Oh, it is.
I thought, bloody hell, it was deeply impressive. I thought, my God, you are if you're a top cyclist,
Yeah.
you are a cog in a massive
Well, Gavin
machine.
Henson's book,
Yes.
he talks about at his peak.
My Grand Slam year.
Yeah, he talks about. I can't believe I've read that. I don't know how I've read it, but anyway, I remember reading a passage of that, and he was saying that at his peak, when he felt really, really fit, if he was 96 kilograms, he felt really quick, but not strong enough in the tackle. So really light on his feet, and in a test of pace, he thought no one can catch me. At 98 kilograms. He felt really good in the tackle and really strong and robust, and he could cope with anything physically, but slow.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be 97 kilograms because then it was the best of both worlds. So if he was going into a game, he'd be obsessively weighing himself to make sure that he was 97 kilograms and not 96 or 98.
I'm going to go on a limb and say he was our biggest wasted talent in the last 20 years. So I know he burned very brightly, very, very brightly.
Yeah.
Very, very, for a very, very short period of time.
Yeah.
But I think it was all about, and we'll talk later in the podcast, we talked before about managing individuals, right? And you can't just turn around and say that it's always, it's always the player's fault. It is, but you've got to manage that player,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Matt Busby amazing with George Best, and no one else could cope with him. Alex Ferguson amazing with Eric Cantona.
Exactly, and I think if Gavin Henson had a coach that understood him and how he ticked, I think he would have been world class for years.
You look at the years where he was with Sean Holly as a coach at the Ospreys, and then later during his time at Bristol. Those are probably the two phases of his career when he's at his best, because you've got a man who totally understands him.
Yeah,
You know, with Froome, he's come from nowhere as this Kenyan rider, and Brailsford just understands him.
And it's what are you trying to achieve? Like Chris Froome is trying to win a cycling
you don't want to come
race,
fourth.
Right? Gavin Henson's trying to win a rugby
Yeah.
game. So Jimmy Anderson, when he came on the scene, is trying to take wickets, right?
Yeah.
The fact he's got blue hair, or he wears fake tan, or he's an oddball, none of these things are relevant.
Yeah.
And if you've got the right person who knows how to manage that.
Roy Keane was one of the best midfielders in Europe.
Yeah.
He was a fantastic player. Fantastic footballer.
Yeah.
And what wound him up, which wound up a lot of Welsh players, or the top Welsh players with the Welsh setup at the time, what wound him up about the Irish setup was that it was unprofessional. So when he had that big argument in Saipan in the 2002 World Cup,
Yeah.
the reason he was arguing was it was the night before a World Cup game,
Yeah.
and the Irish FA hadn't sorted any food out, and they all had a Domino's. And he said, you can't expect us to eat. He said, do you think the Germans are having a Domino's? Of course they're not. The Brazilians aren't eating pizza, are they? You thick twats.
Ronaldo ordering a Domino's.
Roberto Carlos eating a pepperoni pizza.
Having a meat feast.
Just doesn't happen.
Well, do you know what? He's one of the players, and a fabulous talent, right? And a very abrasive bloke when he wants to be, right? And he's got the accent for it. I mean, he's a tough cookie, right? But players like Keane, you'll have a certain sports follower who will say, you're letting kids down. Your job is to be a role model.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's utter bullshit, right?
Yeah, I
you don't
100% agree with this.
You don't go to a football academy to learn how to be a role model, right? You're trying to win. You're trying to win football games, right? My job is not to bring your kids up for you. You bring your kids up. I'm trying to win a football game.
And also, this is never, ever levelled at actors or musicians. No one says to Keith Richards, real shame, actually, you took all that smack in the 70s.
And talked about it.
Yeah, and talked about it. Because my son, who's 10, he loves you. He loves your albums. But now he's a junkie.
Sir Tom Jones, is it? Yeah. I suppose you think it's funny getting your dick out and sex with all those different women all over the world, do you?
It's a real shame, actually.
You're a role model, Tom, for this country. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm a singer. Piss off.
For the attention of Mr. Lou Reed. It's a real shame, in my opinion, that despite the great records you made with the Velvet Underground and your glittering solo career, that you talked about all of the drugs you took, because I think it's a real shame as a role model. No one ever says that about Robert Downey Jr., do they? Never say, oh, it's a shame.
Dear Mr. Neil Young, rate your recent track, Why Do I Keep Fucking Up? There's absolutely no need for that sort of language when my 12-year-old son is watching it. Oh, shut up.
And
No, but I think rugby players, footballers, that's not your job.
no,
And anyone who thinks that is your job is a penis.
yeah, it's a bizarre byproduct that isn't levelled at actors or musicians or other people in the public eye.
What am I going to tell my son? Tell him to get better parents, you bird. My problem with cycling is one of those sports, and it's a similar thing to skiing, right? But it's obviously more accessible than skiing. I've never felt so inadequate as when I went into my local cycling specialist shop.
Yeah.
Trying to get some advice on what bike to buy, right? There were bikes everywhere, right? So there's bikes all over the floor, there's bikes all over all the walls, bikes all over the ceiling. And this fella comes out and says, all right. I said, yeah, thank you. What are you after? I said, a bike, please. He's like, oh, right, okay. Well, what sort of bike? So I don't know. That's why I want a little bit of advice on it, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, okay. All right. Like, rolling his eyes. He's like, what was your last bike? I said, a Rally Grifter. He's like, what? I said, a Rally Grifter. So what's that?
I'm from the 70s.
He said, what's that? I said, it's a Rally Grifter, isn't it?
What's that?
He said, what is it, a hybrid or something? I said, what's a hybrid? He said, well, a hybrid does roads and off-roads. I said, well, it was a hybrid then. It did roads and pavements. Yeah.
Ride it around my house in Parr.
And he's like, what? He's like, what gears did it have? I said, red, yellow and blue.
Red, yellow, blue.
They were the gears. He thought I was taking the piss. And then, what sort of brakes do you need? I said, I want the sort of brakes, the brakes I need are going to be the brakes that stops like a 47-year-old clinically obese man with depression crying his eyes out, going downhill in the rain before he gets put out of his fucking misery by a bus. Those brakes, please.
Oh, right, okay. You're going to need the Shimano brakes. Yeah.
Just give me a bike, you knob. Just sell me a bike.
Sell me a bike, you cunt.
Yeah.
I've actually had to sign autographs with Geraint Thomas, even though I'm about 6 inches shorter than him. Because there is a slight physical resemblance.
Brilliant.
Have I told you this? I was in the Butcher's Arms after Wales played Hungary.
Yeah.
Hang on, you weren't even in a foreign country. You were in Wales.
You were in Wales.
I was in Wales, and a lady came up to me and she said, can I have a selfie? And I said,
Big fan of Josh.
Yeah.
Come on.
yes. And she went, can I have your autograph as well? I was like, yes.
Yes.
So I did all of that. I had the photo with her and her husband. And then she looked at me and said,
fucking golden.
she said, I can't believe you're in the Butcher's Arms drinking Guinness and you've won the Tour de France. Right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. You didn't tell her, did you? I'm going to let her keep going.
Didn't tell her, no. Bye now. Bye.
Take care.
She put it on her Facebook. Said, you'll never guess who I just met.
Please
Geraint
God,
Thomas.
I wish I'd
The
been
first
there.
comment was, that's not him. He just met some bloke who's been to a football match who vaguely resembles Geraint Thomas.
You must have. I wish you'd ridden your bike to the pub. And rode off
Yeah, a
really
little
fast
fold
afterwards.
up.
On your Brompton, just absolutely gunning it on your Brompton.
I'll ride anything.
I was in Porthcawl Elvis Festival about 10 years ago. It's the world's biggest Elvis festival, according to their website, right?
According to the website.
In a caravan park in Porthcawl, right? So, but you get. I always say to people, if you love Elvis or dickheads, go to Porthcawl in September because there's loads of both, right? So,
I went there with you. I watched you perform.
well, you were there the once, yeah.
Yeah.
You came down. So I've done a matinee gig. I'm in the jumpsuit, and I'm walking across the zebra crossing in Porthcawl to the beach, and I saw this like an Elvis superfan, right? He's like, Elvis. I said, yeah. I said, my name's Mike. He went, sorry, Elvis. I said, yeah, no problem. He's like, can you sign my book, please? I said, I beg your pardon. Can you sign my book, please? He gets an Elvis book out, right? I said, what, your Elvis book? Yeah, please. I said, what, as Elvis? Yes, please. I said, what do you want to put on it? He went, put a Doug and Barbara, lots of love. Best wishes, Elvis Presley, right? So I fucking wrote it on there. And he goes to me, Elvis. I goes, what do you want, Doug? Put the date on, please. I said, what, today's date? Yes, please. I said, what, 30 years after Elvis died? Fucking dickhead. But mate, I'd love to be in the pub when you do that. I'd love to. Who are you with? You couldn't have been on your own. You were
No, I was
somebody else.
with all my mates. I was with the boys I've been to the game with.
He's with Froomey, Wiggo.
Chris Boardman was there.
So documentary time. Mike, it's your choice this week.
I feel a bit guilty again, Steff. Last week I had a couple of tips off Twitter followers and I forgot to name check them. And then they got in touch afterwards, and they still follow the pod and they still follow us.
Yeah.
And they were very, they were very forgiving. Once again, someone has given me an absolute pearl of a recommendation for this documentary. And I wrote it down and I don't know where the note is. I tell you what's nice about the people who follow the show now is they get us, and they said you'll love this documentary.
Yeah.
And they sent me the link, and I've watched it. I watched it again this morning. I've seen it 3 times now, and they're 100% right. I love this documentary. This is a documentary from Australian TV back in 1983 about an ultra distance runner called Cliff Young, and it's called Cliff.
By now, they're 50 kilometres behind, and Cliff is showing the stamina of a Zulu warrior.
Can't beat that little Blake. What? Can't beat that little Blake. No.
How are you this morning, Cliff? Pretty good now. Still strong. Yeah. I'll make it. Tonight? Yeah, about 11 o'clock, perhaps. Around about 11. Yeah. See you in Melbourne about 11, I hope. Can you go straight through? Yeah, only stop now and again like this, a bit of food and change shoes, that's better.
So there is nothing not to love about that. So please go and watch it. It's on YouTube. It'll cost you nothing. There's a fellow who didn't run a race until he was 57 years of age. Grew up in a really poor farmer community in Australia. They had essentially nothing. They didn't even have a horse to round up sheep and cattle. So he would do it by foot. He would do one of this huge farm, run around in a pair of wellies.
And it would take him days, so he was running miles, 20 or 30
he would
miles
just
a day.
keep going and keep going. And a lot of that in gumboots, what we'd call wellies, just in rubber boots. And I just love him. I mean, he's such a quirky character. And obviously he lives with his mother, and she's like 89, and he's in his 60s when this kid, like 61, I think.
Yeah.
But they said like every morning he would go out and run 20 or 30k. So around 20 miles every morning, usually in wellies, because he said he doesn't like having wet feet. He said, and where he lives, it rains 9 months of the year, and then winter starts. Which I love that quote, right? And I think his family are all potato farmers.
Yeah.
So and he lives off, but just the phraseology.
Potatoes, pumpkins, and bread.
Oh,
Yeah, because he's a veg, he's vegetarian.
Yeah.
Vegemite, yeah. But he came vegetarian, I think they said like 10 years ago when he had a stew that was cropped.
That's it. Yeah. The crook pot of stew.
He had a crook pot of stew. So he had like one ropey bowl of stew and gave up meat. But what a fascinating bloke. So it's all based on a run that is in miles. I'm going to keep to miles, not kilometres.
Okay, go on.
It's about 600 miles.
Yeah.
It's from Cardiff to London and back to Cardiff and back to London and back to Cardiff again in the evening, right? And it's just staggering, right? And I think the record was 7 days.
Yeah.
The previous record. And spoiler alert, I mean, don't listen for the next 10 seconds, but it's not really about that. He does it in 5 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, no one's heard of him when he turns up at the starting line. So they're all laughing at him because he's turned up in his work clothes and a pair of wellies. And he's like, I'd like to run the race as well. So they all think, he's not going to finish and he's too old, because everyone else is an ultra endurance athlete in their 20s or early 30s.
He comes like on the absolute whizzer idea of an endurance race. I just won't sleep.
Brilliant.
So
his mate messes it up, doesn't
This
he?
is the best thing. They said the first night they plan to have like five plus hours.
Well, everyone
sleep
else
a night, right?
is planning on having 6.
Yeah, so he thinks I'll have 5. So they said they get 5.5 to give us a start. So I think they stopped running at midnight on the first night, and he's going to get up at 5:30 and go again, right? But his mate's got a ropey watch, like a crappy old watch that doesn't work properly. The alarm goes off at 2:30, right? So he's had 2.5 hours sleep. Cliff. He gets up and starts running. And I said by the time his mate realised it was 2:30 in the morning, not 5:30 in the morning, he'd already gone about 10k. But he said he thought in his mind he'd had a 5 hours sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't tell him that for the next 5 days. But
Yeah.
they said in 5 days he slept for 15 hours.
Yeah, and his crew had only slept for 15 hours. Now, what I love about him is that he was born in... I googled him. He was born in 1922, and he was brought up during the Depression. So the family had no money. So he's been running these enormous distances since he was very, very young, just because the family couldn't afford horses. So it was you either round them up on foot or they don't get rounded up. So you round them up on foot, you don't eat. So that's that.
They said if you watch the way he's running, he runs all the
He dislocates his shoulder. Yes.
Yeah, on the first day.
Yes.
So he runs for 4 days with a dislocated shoulder.
And the guy puts it back in. He goes, that's going to smell a little bit for a few days.
Yeah. It'll be sore. It'll be sore, Cliff.
Oh, that'd be right. That'd be right.
Don't worry about it. That's
A
fine.
bit of money, yeah. I haven't had a lot of money. But,
He also...
it's nice to have some money, not too
Well,
much.
he hadn't realised there was prize money. So he...
How nice is it when he gets there and his mum's turned up? He hasn't got a girlfriend or a wife or anything.
He ends up... He'd been single his entire life, and then he ended up marrying a 23-year-old.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But then divorced 5 years later.
Fantastic.
But
Did
he
she rinse him for all,
rinse
him for all the potatoes?
Got to assume so.
I hadn't realised this. He's a cult hero in Australia. He's quite famous in Australia.
I'm not surprised. I can't believe I've never heard of
Well,
it.
Hannah Gadsby, the famous Australian comedian, named her 2010 show the Cliff Young Shuffle, because the Cliff Young Shuffle is a kind of run that now has been adopted by ultra-marathon endurance runners because it's so efficient. Because it doesn't, you don't waste any energy. So it looks like you don't know what you're doing, but actually you really know what you're doing because you're not expending any superfluous energy.
He wins that 10 grand.
Yeah.
And then gives most of it to his crew and the other 5 runners who he beat.
Yeah.
The other guys, because he felt bad for them.
He felt bad for him. And he's there with the one fellow who's come in like a day and a half after him. And he was coming around to apologise that he wasn't there to support him when he came over the winning line.
Yeah.
I thought, mate, you're an absolute pearl.
But he also
that made him very famous in Australia because that race was very famous. He became very famous for winning it against all the odds, and then he gave away his winnings, not realising that there was a prize pot at the end of the race anyway. So then he got the Order of Australia as
because Bob Hawke was there, wasn't he? Bob, the old
services for long distance running.
Who couldn't look any dodgier, Bob Hawke. He looks like a Batman villain. He looks like the mayor of Gotham, who's in the Joker's pocket, doesn't he?
Because he's very... Cliff as well is this adorable, very socially awkward bloke. Oh,
yes.
Well, I'll run about 20 or 30 k's a day. And,
did you have much money growing up, Cliff?
No,
not much money. We didn't have a lot of money. Don't too much money. Just pay my bills and not too much, just enough.
But in Born to Run and in Sapiens as well, it makes the argument that early humans, it was actually very natural for us to run enormous distances quite slowly because you'll never catch a gazelle over 400 metres, but you will catch it. But you will
training for.
But you will catch it over 20 miles because you just keep chasing it until it gets tired, and then it gets so tired it can't run anymore, and then you kill it. So
just breed gazelle.
But the kind of running that Cliff was doing, because it was the Depression,
chasing potatoes.
It's actually quite natural for humans to do that. It's just no one ever does it anymore. But his lifestyle was like an early human being's lifestyle from thousands and thousands of years ago, which is why he's so perfectly designed for those kind of crazy
How much
distances.
people overthink running. When I first ran, it was for a bet. And then I had to interview Steve Jones, the old British record holder. No, not Steve Jones. Of T4.
Have you seen the interview he does with Ian Brown from the Stone Roses?
No, is it good?
What's your favourite martial art, Ian? Capoeira is a kind of Brazilian dance, but you can also kick someone's fucking head in. Oh, capoeira's good, is it? Why are you fucking talking to me like that? All right, Ian, never mind. I think the interview's... You're fucking full of shit, you. It's brilliant. Very, very good.
I used to teach that, genuinely. What's the main step? Yeah, the main step in capoeira is called the Jenga step.
Did you live in Rio during your...
No, do you know what?
It's another bloody quantum leap story from my Bubbins when he was a capoeira teacher.
I was living in the West Country.
Yeah,
teaching capoeira.
Fuck off, I'm telling you why now. Because it was an old boys comp. And I wanted to do a dance club with the kids because I like dance. And my head of the department almost had an apoplexy. He said, "You're not teaching dance on my watch." I said, "Mate, please trust me. I'll do a dance club. The kids will like. I'll do like a dance that boys will like."
Violent.
And I got them doing capoeira. They loved it.
Where did you study your capoeira?
Yeah.
Well, I did. I enjoyed what I did with my teacher training in St Luke's. I enjoyed dance. I did when I was at UH. I enjoyed doing dance as well.
Where did you learn to do capoeira to teaching standards, Mike? Like, I occasionally enjoy the oboe, but I can't teach it.
No, but I mean, that's it doesn't. You haven't got to be very high standard of capoeira to teach capoeira to someone who's never danced before.
Okay.
Is the thing. Teaching the basic steps. Actually, do you know an interesting story about capoeira?
Yes, Mr. Miyagi.
Splinter.
It was used in Brazil by the slaves for two reasons: to keep them fit and active, obviously, but also so they could practice fighting without their masters knowing they were practicing fighting. So they used to do this dance to practice their martial arts without their masters knowing they were practicing fighting. And capoeira is behind some of the great slave rebellions in Brazil.
Right.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it, why don't you?
Okay.
You're poo-pooing about the capoeira.
No, I'm not poo-pooing capoeira. I'm pooing you
just
doing
poo-pooed it.
capoeira.
You poo-pooed it.
I know I poured scorn on you doing capoeira.
Why shouldn't I do capoeira?
But because of your background and your upbringing. It's who you are. Where did you find time to fit it in?
You'd be surprised. There was a big capoeira club in Barry.
Kazakhstan.
The Kazakhstan capoeiras. No. But anyway, so Cliff Young.
It's brilliant. What a dude.
I just think he's so likeable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said he got married. As I watched that, thinking, I hope he meets a nice girl.
But with the money as well, he also worked out. It wasn't like it was a very generous thing to do, but he also worked out that in terms of sponsorships as a result of it, he was made for life anyway.
You cynical
No, he
bastard.
did. I've seen interviews with him afterwards.
One of his sponsorship deals, mate, was free pears for a year. You can't exactly retire off it, can you?
You can if you just want to eat pears and potatoes. That's exactly what you can do.
I like pears.
I like pears.
Free
I do like
pears
pears,
for
that's
a
quite
year.
good.
Imagine that.
It's really nice, actually. Free pears for a year.
The big sponsorship deal.
Free tin
Gets a tin of
pears.
pears for a year.
If my agent told me that he got me a sponsorship deal of free tin pears for a year, I would sack him on the spot.
If my agent got me a deal with free pears for the year, right? That'll be the best deal he's got me so far.
If we can get a pear sponsor for this podcast, guys, we ain't turning it down. I'll tell you that for free.
If Mr. Del Monte's listening, we will.
We say
we
yes.
will pod for pears,
Mike.
We will pod for pears.
Do you like Maris Piper, Mike?
Oh man, there's great characters in that as well, right? And all the peripheral characters are interesting, and they're all very generous with their praise and everything of Cliff as well. But that English bloke who's the holder who has to drop out, how good? Because he looks like he's being stung in the eyes by about 1 million bees. He's so knackered.
Do you know what he looks like?
And he goes, how do you feel? He went, what a bloody stupid question.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm in absolute agony. And he was like 500 miles into a 600-mile race. He's going, yeah, what part of you hurts? He goes, he's like, my legs, like all of these
All
bits.
of it.
Especially the ankles, but everything else as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to stop.
My
And I said
shins
within, like,
are completely swollen. All of my body hurts, but my legs in particular.
what a bloody stupid question.
Right, second round of clips. I'm going to go first. This is from 2 days ago. This is from the Nets at Old Trafford, and it's Jimmy Anderson back in training, and it's spectacular. So it's a net session. They've obviously got to the point now where there are a few of them can go to nets, because I know Jimmy was turning up with his own balls for a while. The accuracy of this is remarkable. I would say 6 of these are getting an edge, and the other 2 are reasonably unplayable. It's just amazing.
When you play cricket in a school or like junior club level, and you're always taught to bowl up the stumps, aren't you?
Yes.
You know? I remember my granddad was proper old school, my dad's dad saying, watching cricket, he got frustrated at most things. He was a grumpy old bugger, but I mean, you know. And he couldn't believe they didn't just bowl a Yorker. Just bowl a Yorker all the time. Just bowl a Yorker. Just get it on bottom middle stump. Because you're not going to get anybody out. I want to say granddad, because you're not going to get anyone out doing that these days. That's not going to work.
They're going to block it every time.
Yeah. And you watch that lovely camera from behind the stumps there.
Yeah.
And the shape on the deliveries as well.
That's beautiful.
And all those, you have to play at them.
Yes, that's...
You know, if you don't play at it, you're going to get LBW, you're going to get bowled.
Yeah.
And if you do play at it, there's a very good chance you're going to edge it, right?
Yes.
Also, what an amazing career. He's 37, Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
So he's bowled for as long as Matthew Hoggard and Goff.
And fast bowler as well.
Combined. And being a fast bowler is so hard on the body.
Yeah.
So
And he looks
hard on the
amazing.
body. And he's 37 and he's still playing.
Good-looking boy as well.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a handsome bugger. He's in great shape. He's tall. He's
Yeah.
athletic.
Yeah.
He's really talented.
But what a cricketer.
Wanker. It's brilliant.
I like everything about that clip, and I like that ground, Old Trafford anyway, because I think it's one of the proper cricket grounds of the country, even though they've kind of done it up now. And I remember doing a bit of filming there. We were on the boundary ropes there. It was a sellout one-day game. But it's the only time I've ever been heckled and abused by a crowd. There was me, a camera guy and a producer on the boundary rope filming, and a chant started with about two guys of 3 men doing one man's job, and it extended to the entire...
good echo.
Yeah, really good. But the entirety of Old Trafford then start doing it.
Yeah.
And not over-exaggerated. And then a chant of gravy train, gravy train, gravy train.
Was it
started as
BBC,
well.
was it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you're lucky it wasn't 16 people doing one man's job, really. But obviously, they pared that right down, didn't they? Where were the other 13 in the van, were they?
That was the 80s, mate. I miss those great days.
Those days do sound good whenever people talk about it. It sounds absolutely brilliant.
You imagine? Go all the way to Manchester to make tea.
Yeah. Have you got the tea bags? Shit.
Oh, shit. That was Clive's job.
Yeah.
I was just boiling the water.
Proper unionised. I don't touch tea bags. I'm coffee.
Not allowed. It's in the boot.
Clive is sugar. Derek does milk.
I do mellow birds and that is it.
Oh, mellow birds. Good lad.
What a cup of coffee.
I did a gig a couple of years ago. My agent phoned me up at the time and said, do you want to do a corporate gig? I was like, oh, God. I said, what do you mean corporate? Well, that's actually, it's like a birthday party.
Do dirty jokes.
I said, oh, yeah, maybe. What are they doing? They said, well, they're having a game of cricket first. Then there's a bit of a marquee, and they want a comedian to come and do a bit of comedy in the marquee. I said, shit, okay. I don't really want to do it. So I thought, I'll price myself out with this gig, right? And then I can say to my wife, they didn't go for it, right? So I put in this more than I would normally charge, right? Comes back, yeah, that's fine. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, shit. I said, well, he's fine with that, was he? Yeah. I said, oh, okay. She said, have you heard of James Hull? So his car collection's worth about 250 million quid, right, this bloke?
Right.
I said, shit, I should have charged more, right? So, first thing I thought. So, when they say you're doing a bit of comedy after a cricket match, right? That wasn't the full story. So I get the address, right? Not far from your neck of the woods, Steff. It's up in Monmouthshire, right?
Yeah.
I drive there. Probably the last half a mile is his driveway, right? And then I get to a gate, and there's like security guards on the gate. Then I go in. So the cricket game is in his house.
Yeah.
So in the main part of his lawn, there's a full, beautiful, like a billiard table, cricket oval, right? With a scoreboard, with proper boundary ropes, with everything, right? Then there's an enormous bar, which is just doing pims and cocktails, and it's very Caribbean. There's like palm trees and there's bits and bobs, right?
Lilt.
And that's called the Umbongo. They got the lot, right? So I meet him. I said, how'd your game go? And he's got his own cricket team, right? I can't remember what they're called now. The Drillers, I think they're called, right? His cricket team that he takes all around the world to play cricket for him, right? So I'm stood there, set up myself to do this comedy gig, and everyone's smashed. I knew it was going to be a terrible gig, right? Everyone was pissed. They've been playing cricket all day. They're all on it. I see Devon Malcolm. Then I see Gladstone Small. right? And then I saw a couple of the Aussie team. As I'm warming up, David Gower walks in. So David Gower's there. I thought, what the fuck? I can't believe what's going on here. It was just a mental gig.
Brilliant.
But I get on there.
It's like the baseball team
he's got
Mr.
that
Burns puts together in that episode of The Simpsons.
It's exactly what it was like. It was unbelievable, mate. So I get on there. Everyone is on it big time, right? So with that now, he just says, I said, oh, shit, this ain't going well. I'll do a song. So I did a song, a bit of Elvis, right? They're loving it. So we ended up. It's gone from a stand-up gig now into me just singing songs and everyone joining in, right? Tom Jones, fucking Kenny Rogers, whatever. I just do them all. And he's loving it, James Hull. But I'm picking my wife up at midnight from Cardiff, right? She's got a school due. And I came off the gig and I said to his PA, I said, listen, I got to shoot. Oh, thanks a lot for that. It was a lot of fun. And he came over. He said, you're staying all night. And when you're back on the stage, you're going to sing all night for us.
Oh my!
I said, no.
This is
James,
an anxiety dream for me.
It is, isn't it?
I said, James, I got to go and pick my wife up. He said, no, you're going to stay here all night. I'll pay you whatever it costs. I'll pay you whatever it costs. You're staying here. But we had like my dad looking after the kids and stuff. And I said, James, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. He walks off. I said to his PA, I'm not doing it. He'll pay you whatever. I said, I don't care. I said, I've got to get my wife. I'm picking her up at midnight, and we've got babysitters, and I can't do it.
It's a helicopter on St Mary Street picking Kelly up.
Yeah. So on the way out, then I'm going to drive back. She said, do you want to have a look at his pub? You got a pub in your house? I saw it on the internet. I said, well, yeah, I've got a nice bar in my house. His pub, mate. You go in there. There's like W.G. Grace's bat. There's like Gareth Edwards' Welsh shirt. There's like it's unbelievable.
But Mike, is he happy?
No,
that's what man would say. Is he happy?
Is he happy?
Is he happy though, Mike?
He looked ecstatic.
I'd say, Mum, he's got the best life. So
Yeah, he's got the best stuff. The best
he's got
everything.
200 of the best cars in the country.
He has actually bought happiness. I'm sorry to defeat the age-old argument, Mum, but I think he has bought happiness.
Yeah, that theory you had for a long time, man.
Yeah.
Been blown out the water by this guy.
Mum, that is socialist bollocks, I can confirm.
Right, what's your second clip for this week, Elis? What have you got?
This is the second goal when Wales played Russia in a World Cup qualifier for the 2019 Women's World Cup in France. Wales, unfortunately, came within a hair's breadth of qualifying, didn't quite manage it. They were in the same group as England. But this goal, I think, is just mouth-watering. It's fantastic technique.
This to make it 2-0. That is a fabulous second goal from Keane.
If it had been a men's team, if that had been Barcelona, it would have gone viral. And, it would have been retweeted thousands and thousands of times. It would have been one of those goals where people would text each other saying, have you seen this? And I've started taking more of an interest in the Welsh women's team because of the Feast of Football podcast. And they came so close to qualifying for the 2019 World Cup. And I had big plans because obviously that was where Wales had played at the Euros in France in 2016. And France is very easy to get to, and I was going to take my daughter to the games. It was going to be brilliant. They didn't quite make it, which was very, very sad. But this goal, I find myself watching it all the time because I think it's just...
That first touch is wonderful.
Oh, yeah, well, from Jess...
It's Burkamp.
From Jess Fishlock, who is the
tackle.
Yeah.
I love Jess.
Yeah, well...
that scoop tackle, which you turned
Well,
to
she's
180.
the women's team version of Gareth Bale. She's one of the best players in the world. It's just, it's a fantastic goal, but the thing with women's football is that I hadn't realised this until quite recently. During World War One, it was as popular, if not more popular, than the men's game. So it would get enormous crowds. They would play at Goodison Park, 53,000 there to watch the women play. So then when the war ended, the FA basically panicked, I think, and thought it's going to dwarf the men's game. So they banned it. They said that women's physiques weren't suitable and didn't suit football. So they banned it until 1971, incredibly.
Yeah.
Jesus, really?
So it was banned for 50 years.
How could they ban it though, mate? How could they stop people playing it? They just didn't
sanction anything, and then it was played on rugby pitches and it was played unofficially.
But even then, from the 70s through to the 90s, it still wasn't taken on board by the official FA.
No. Well, the FA, the English FA, I should say, the English Football Association, apologised for this in 2008. Because the problem with the women's game is if you watch it now, the standard's excellent, but it's making up ground that was lost during 50 years when, in effect, it was banned by the FA.
Yeah.
But there was a woman who was the star. She was the star of World War I women's football, a lady called Lily Parr, who played for a team in Preston. And she was reputed of a harder shot.
Not the grasshoppers.
But she was reputed of a harder shot than any male player at the time. And she broke a male goalkeeper's arm with a shot. She could apparently really, really hit the ball.
Make it clean.
She was make it a clean break catch. Depending on what you read, she was either 5'10" or 6 foot. But she was certainly very tall for the time. But she was a real character in that she was a heavy smoker and her payments were supplemented at her request by packs of woodbines.
Yes.
Superb. No talking.
40 Regal king size, please, I'll pay for you.
Proper sport.
She was paid in fags.
That's ace.
Which I just...
And Pears.
which I just love. So, no one takes the piss out of women's athletics. No one takes the piss out of women's tennis.
That's interesting, actually, yeah.
No one looks at Serena Williams and thinks fucking shit, and no one looks at Paula Radcliffe and says, well, she can't run a marathon. It just doesn't happen. And
my boy's first, I think it is changing, thank God. My boy's first international he saw, first club football game he saw was the women's Euro final in Cardiff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
His football team all went down. It ended up extra time, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the latest he'd ever been to bed. I remember that. He was supposed to be on by like 9 o'clock and got back about 11 o'clock.
That's brilliant. But that is brilliant, though, isn't it? It's like how they judge a great evening. They're much like us children.
Yeah.
I got to drink a bottle of Coke.
I went to watch the Swans play Spurs at White Hart Lane. I'd actually forgotten I had tickets for the match. So I'd gone out the night before and had gone large. Yeah. So I'd got in at about 7:30 and fallen asleep. The kickoff. It was the Sunday.
7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was the Sunday game. It was live on Sky, right? It was live on Sky. So I'd just fallen asleep in my clothes. So it was kicking. I lived in South London. It was kicking off in North London at 12:30 or something. And at about 11:30, Izzy shook me and said, "Are you going to football today?" Now, not only was I going to football, I was taking my friend Bennett and his kid, because it was his kid's 10th birthday present. I'd sorted the tickets. I'd completely forgotten about this. And I had the tickets. So she went, "Are you going to football?" I was like, "Oh my God!" So
Cliff Young would have run there, mate.
Fuck! So obviously...
9-minute miles. You ain't getting there by half 12.
So obviously, inevitably, I was a little bit late. I gave him the ticket. I'd bought him a programme. His dad had already bought him a programme because they'd been stood outside the away end for a quarter of an hour waiting for me.
Half time.
But he had a brilliant time because he'd never seen a hungover man before. And he found it hilarious. He was like, "What's wrong with Elis, Dad? Look at him. Look how grey he is. He's not really gonna be sick, is he?" I don't know. So I just sat there with my head in my hands to watch any of the match. I've got no memory of the score, no memory of the game at all.
Right, Mike, what have you gone for this round? So I've just seen what it is.
Right, this is something that makes me proud to be British, okay? We can go down Welsh, Scottish, Irish, English routes, right? This is something that brings the whole of the United Kingdom together, right? I love this. This speaks volumes about our national identity as a British Isles. This is the Gloucester cheese roll.
I'm used to defending it, but a bit more pressure on this year.
It's one of my... I don't really do regrets, right? I have never been to see this happen live because it's so hard to get in there. I mean, for a couple of years it was sort of basically banned. It's now back on again.
Yeah.
I just think it's so good, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's one of those things, and when you see like an American commentary team talking about it, they cannot get their head around it. Then you've got these people that are genuinely risking serious injury and death.
People have died doing it, yeah.
Yeah, to run down a hill in Gloucester, and the prize, if you do win it, you might get some free cheese.
Not a cheese that's been chucked down
Been
a hill.
rolled down a hill.
There's
Some muddy cheese.
And it's like downhill skiing. When you can't appreciate how steep that is until you see the side angle.
Yeah.
Like I went for a run. I went for a little sprint with my kids the other day. We were doing little time trials for our fitness thing, and there was a bank in this run. And I ran down the bank thinking I was 25 still, right? Forgetting that I was 48 and obese. And as my feet hit the level ground, my entire lower body concertinaed like a squeeze box. And I've taken the skin off both my knees, both my elbows. Right? So you watch him running down that frigging hill. Some of the wipeouts on it. We talked about Maya last week, and you'll be hard pressed to find a more dangerous wipeout than some of those people when they start tumbling down there. And there's like at the end of it all, if you do survive the run down, there's a stone wall.
Oh, I didn't know
Very
that.
near the bottom of that run, there's like a low stone wall. And so to stop people getting injured there, they get the local rugby club to come and stand in front of the wall to tackle you before you get to the stone wall, if you get that far. So, so good.
I think it speaks volumes that the YouTube video that you've chosen to depict and describe cheese rollings made by National Geographic, because it's like something from some ancient tribe.
Those can't be the quickest ways of getting down that
Well,
hill.
there's a comedian who was brought up just around the corner called Nick Page, who Mike and I know from the stand-up circuit.
right.
And he used to have material about cheese rolling years ago. I'm paraphrasing. But he used to have material basically on how dim some of the people he grew up with were. And the cheese rolling became a case study. And he said, we've been doing this for 150 years. No one has ever caught the cheese. Yeah, we're still trying to do it. It's such an inefficient way to catch cheese.
Cartwheeling can't be the quickest way of getting down a hill.
But they all break their arms. They all break their arms and dislocate their shoulders.
Well, there's the woman who wins it who's in a sling.
Yeah.
But seems chuffed that she's dislocated her shoulder and has won a cheese.
Yeah.
Go to Asda's.
One guy in a pair of swimming trunks as well. You'd feel such a pillock, wouldn't you, in swimming trunks, being scraped off the grass by St John's ambulance with your arm pointing, looking like a cheese string pointing in the wrong direction. At that stage, you think, I wish I had a tracksuit on.
I will wear swimming trunks at the drop of a hat. I'll wear it for anything.
Saturday in your Speedos.
Yeah.
Because they did ban it, but no one took a blind bit of notice of it, which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah.
Didn't they ban doing it? They banned doing it with cheese.
So they used a wooden disc, the same size.
Rather than banning the bit that's dangerous, the cheese wasn't the dangerous bit.
Yeah.
No one's getting some sort of bacterial problem.
It's like in New York years ago when I think someone shot someone for a joke with a super soaker, and he got turned around and got shot. The bloke who super soaked shot him dead. So they banned super soakers.
Yeah.
But I would love, that is one place, if we got listeners in the Gloucester area that would like to meet us for a pint after lockdown for the next cheese roll, I'd love to do that.
Let's go books then. Elis, what have you got for us?
My book is Raging Bull, My Story by Jake LaMotta, which was the book that they based the film on. So Robert De Niro had read this book on the set of Godfather 2, I think it was. And he just became absolutely fascinated by Jake LaMotta and called Martin Scorsese up and said, we've just got to make a film about this guy. He's incredible. He's quite unapologetic about how horrible a person he was. So he was in a reform school as a 16-year-old. You know, he was in all sorts of trouble as a teenager, and then discovered boxing, and then obviously became a world champion. It's a brilliant. Well, I wouldn't say it's a brilliant. It's a very gripping book.
Jake LaMotta is one of the signed photographs in my bar.
No way.
Because Lord Brooks used to bring retired boxers over for dinners, and I never went to them, but my friend Dave used to go to quite a few of them, and they would bring these huge names in boxing, like from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And because Lord Brooks was a Cardiff boy, and I think he was he chair of the British boxing?
He was, the Boxing Board of Control, yeah.
Yeah. So they'd have these dinners in Rumney, like in the east end of Cardiff, and bring over people like Jake LaMotta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've got his, next to me over, mate, I've got a signed Jake LaMotta photograph in my book.
He lived until he was 95, Jake LaMotta.
I might even give it to you.
Oh, Mike.
Right, Mike, what have you got?
Right, I've got a book called Mean on Sunday, the autobiography of Ray Nichky. So Ray Nichky was the star middle linebacker for the Green Bay Packers in the absolute glory years of the 1960s. And it's his life story. I tell you what's interesting about it. Well, there's lots of things interesting about it. The one is that he lost his dad when he was about 4 years old. His old man died in a car crash. Him and the two brothers. Then at 13, his mother went to hospital and died in hospital of complications. So he ends up getting raised by his brothers. But with this, he talks about this anger that he had in him and this sort of rage against the world. Why me? And he channeled it into sports and into football in particular. And Nichky ends up being, I think, in after the 50th NFL season, which was 1969, 1970, he was voted the best linebacker of all time. And he ended up, he got married, he gave up boozing, he got married. His wife couldn't have children, they adopted 3 kids. He became this doting sort of, father to these 3 young kids he adopted. And there's a real nice... I like it when someone can be... Like the book's called Mean on Sunday. He never lost that savage nature on the football field.
Yeah.
But he changes as a human being and as a bloke.
Right, mine kind of crosses over business and sport. It's called Shoe Dog. It's by Phil Knight, who's the guy who set up Nike. And it's sort of the story during the 60s and 70s. So it's the pre-Air Jordan era of Nike. So from the very basics of when he starts importing shoes under a different company name from Japan, so he imports Tiger shoes. How close they came to going out of business about 9 or 10 times. They signed up Ili Nastase as one of their first representatives, not in Speedos. They sign him up. He then ditches them, and they haven't got a tennis player. So they go to Wimbledon to try and find someone to represent them as being their sort of athlete out there. And the guy from US Tennis tells them to go and see a few players. They say, whatever you do, don't go to court 14. There's this lunatic out there who you don't want to know about. Phil Knight goes out there. It's McEnroe. They sign him up.
Oh, wonderful.
All of a sudden, they've got the front man for what they want. The biggest impact they have during this era is when they get Farrah Fawcett to wear a pair of Nikes on Charlie's Angels, and they all fly off the shelves.
No way.
Because no one has thought of running shoes, athletics shoes, as real casual wear.
There's that Run DMC song on the first album, My Adidas. My Adidas! And
are they in the room with you there?
That sounded like...
But they went...
Certainly the Reverend Run's in there with you.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Run DMC. Very quickly, I know we don't do this sort of thing normally, but my hometown club, Barry Rugby Club,
yes,
I've been doing a lot of running recently to raise some money for Valindra Cancer Centre, which is a cancer centre in Cardiff.
Have you sponsored them double not to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
You stick into your theories.
What an absolute charlatan. I was going to say, if people could just chip in for them not to do any more running. No, I think I've already done the run. But we'll, if you don't mind, we'll put a link on the.
No, 100%. I ran the London Marathon for Valindra last year, so 100% on board with this.
Good man. So that'll be good. Well done, Barry boys.
That's fantastic stuff. Right, secret guitarist Wise. If you want to have a guess as to who is doing the theme tune under us now, then go to where your podcast provider allows you to review. Give us a 5-star rating, because why wouldn't you? And in your review, have a guess as to who it could be. Pulse23 says, is it blues legend, local lad to Cardiff, Chris Buck? And Daniel Mophead says, it is someone who brings their guitar on stage and has a connection to the pod. It is Izzy Sooty.
Good guess.
If you want to get in touch with us on the podcast, @DistantPod is where you can find us on. There's a Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram and on Twitter with @DistantPod. If you want to see all of the clips from today's show, it is youtube.com/the socially distant sports bar. And if you want your free beers, there are 8 of them waiting for you. The guys at Beer 52. If you put /distant on their little URL, you will get yourself 8 free beers. We will talk to you again next time.